back to another layout update. We've got a good one for you here today. As you can see right here in front of me, we've hit a bit of a milestone here on the layout, so we'll get into that along with some other track work that's been completed. We've also got a couple of completed locomotive projects to talk about and some new acquisitions. So buckle up, it's going to be a action-packed layout update, and enjoy. Alright, so as you can see here in front of me, one of the biggest things that it's been completed since the last layout update is actually the installation of the lift out that allows you to get into the main part of the layout. This project actually took up a ton of my time between now and the last update, just because I've gone through 3 different types of hinges. I really was hoping to be able to use soft close hinges that would help keep the bridge kind of more in an upright position like this, rather than being able to fold all the way backwards like it can now. But unfortunately, I ran into some issues where with those soft close hinges, the hinge right, or the joint right here where the hinges were, I was having some major issues with having the track not hit itself. Like the track on the lift out was grinding up against the track on the main part of the layout, and I could not seem to figure out a way to adjust it so that that wasn't happening. So I went with some basic cabinet hinges. These are actually on their what would technically be considered backwards for an actual cabinet. They would, on a cabinet, be on the underside of the lift out, but in order to keep things flush, they did need to be mounted the way they are. Overall, this setup is working great. I've ran probably over 100 laps around the mainline loop now without a single issue over this section, and it's worked great. It's not the prettiest looking lift out in the world, and because of that, eventually I may circle back to this and see if I can do it a little bit cleaner a little while down the road, but for now this is going to work great. It mechanically works flawlessly, and that's really about all I could really ask for. So overall happy with the way it turned out. Give me just a second and we're going to actually go around the layout here and look at a couple other pieces, areas of completed track work, and we'll go from there. Alright, so now we're over here looking at the Watkins Glen side of the layout. As you can see here, we've got the entire main line in all the way to the Glenora Falls scene, which is right up at the top of the frame. The first turnout here, this is going to be for our Cargill scene in Watkins Glen. The next turnout up, sitting right here, this will be for our U.S. Salt scene. At U.S. Salt, the grade is actually going to drop down about an inch closer to lake level, because we actually will be modeling the lake scene in this area, which is Seneca Lake. So that's going to come later. I do also have the runaround track, which operators will need to use so they're not shoving their whole train back to Geneva when operating the layout as well. This scene so far has turned out really well. I've again been able to run many trains through the runaround siding and on the main line here, and everything seems to be working out well. So happy with the way that turned out, and let's just keep on rolling with the track work. Alright, as you can see here, we've also gotten a lot more track work done on the Auburn side of the layout coming out of the Cayuga Causeway. The turnout for Auburn Road right here has been installed. The main line actually all the way over to the lift out section and is in as well. This is becoming kind of one of my favorite areas of the layout for the time being. This S-curve is really entertaining to just watch trains go through, snaking their way through. I've again, the entire main line has gotten tested, probably close to 150 to 200 times at this point, and I've had 0 issues running through here. I was a little nervous with this S-curve initially, but I've been running about 25 car train through it with absolutely 0 issues. So I'm really happy with the way this turned out. With that said, we'll get into the last area of track work and then keep on going with some other portions of the video. Alright, so last but not least in the track work department, we've also been able to complete the installation of the Geneva team track. This is just technically railroad west of Geneva Yard itself. I mean, it's literally right next to the yard. They use this track in the springtime a lot for unloading and loading farm products, fertilizer, and feed. And a lot of times they end up using it for storage for their passenger cars as well, when they're not using those for excursions. So this siding will see many different uses during an op session, but it is one of the areas that I was able to get installed pretty easily, so I went ahead and did that despite not having the track to do the rest of the yard just yet. So happy with how it turned out as well. You know, have pulled cars in and out of there and haven't had much of an issue. So all right, so that wraps it up as far as track work is concerned. Let's go check out the finished locomotive projects and take a look at the new acquisitions we've gotten for the layout. All right, so first up on the new acquisition side of things, I figured I'd give you a look at the kits and more kits that I've picked up over the last month and a half. A few of these came from a estate sale that our Model Train Club was helping out with, as well as a few kits that the club itself decided it didn't need, so I was able to pick up at a discounted rate. I really just wanted to kind of share this with you guys, just to kind of hold myself accountable. These kits, you know, I've been meaning to get a start on them for a good long while now, and just finding trouble motivating myself to do that. So hoping by putting this stuff in the video, by the time next layout update rolls around, or maybe the one after that, we'll actually have a few of these kits assembled and on the layout. Most of these kits are going to be for either the Geneva or Penn Yan area downtown scenes. The railroad bunkhouse, the Merchant's Row kits, and all four kits that are down here are all shop kits, basically. The city station kit, that actually probably won't get set up for quite a while. That's actually going to end up being the station that's in Clifton Springs on the Auburn Road, and that's actually the section of layout that I haven't built yet, that'll come out as a peninsula. They actually have a stucco station there. It's made out of stucco, and then it's got two brick buildings that they added on later, and in modern use it's actually used as the town's library. So I figured I'd pick up this brick kit. I think I should be able to kind of retexture it as a stucco building, so that it looks good. And if I can't, I can also just use it as one of the brick additions that was put on later in its life. I also do have another single track truss bridge kit here to build for the Hemrod Junction overpass, since I took that bridge and actually installed it on the KU Causeway instead. So yeah, I mean, this is a look at a bunch of the kits that I've picked up. Hoping to kind of start building these soon. The Penn Yan area, the layout is pretty much ready for scenery whenever I'm ready to start doing it. But I do want to get the kits built first for that area, just so that I can have an idea of where everything needs to sit. So here's hoping that'll start in the next couple of months. And up next, we'll get right into a couple of other new acquisitions and our finished locomotive projects. Okay, so continuing on with our new acquisitions, in that same estate sale where I was able to pick up a few of those kits that we saw a minute ago, I was also able to pick up a bunch of different 1/87 scale construction equipment. I've got one skid here, along with 2 excavators and 2 bulldozers, and just a John Deere tractor as well. I was able to pick these up at a pretty good rate, so I decided I'd go ahead and do that. There's going to be a couple of different scenes on the layout. I'm sure that will require some construction equipment in order to grab some realism. Might end up even weathering a couple of these. I feel like that could be fun as well, just to make them look like they were, actually in-use construction equipment. So with that out of the way, let's get into our new locomotive acquisitions. Alright, so here is new locomotive acquisition number 1. This is Finger Lakes Railway 2303, another B23-7 in the lightning stripe scheme. This one actually, in modern times, is sitting on the deadline, more than likely just being cannibalized for parts, but it did have a long operating life on the Finger Lakes before that time came around. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with it, if I'm going to run it as Locomotive 2303, or if I might try to sand down the nose housing that's on it, that you can kind of see right about there, and make it into one of the ex-Southern chop nose units that the Finger Lakes has. They have, I think it's 4 chop nose units on the roster that have a very distinct nose compared to the low hood units that were low hood units from the factory. So it is a bit of a challenge to model those accurately, and I'm willing to try it eventually. I'm just not sure if I'm going to cannibalize this locomotive in order to do that. We'll see what happens. I'm tempted to, for sure, just because 2303, technically in my modeling era, I think was already on the deadline by the time my modeling era starts, which is about 2013. It may have been active for a little bit during my era, but not entirely sure. I would have to check. We do have one other locomotive here to look at, though, and I'll get that pulled up here now. So this one's probably going to throw a lot of people for a loop here. I had a friend show up at the club that I belong to. He came up to visit, and he brought this thing up with him that he had just acquired himself, actually, for pretty cheap. This is a Broadway Limited Erie Pacific. It technically is supposed to be a K5. It doesn't have the Let's Go feed water heater yet. Just got it in, actually, on last Friday, so a couple of days ago. And I am going to update it so that it actually looks like a true Erie K5. But when he when he showed up with it, I kind of knew it was going to come home with me, because I'm a sucker for Erie steam, and I got it for a really great deal. So I'm really happy to have it. I am planning on using this kind of as like my club equipment, something I bring to the club to run, or just when I'm bored having, running laps around the layout here. There's no real modeling need for me to have this. I actually only technically am modeling like a square mile of Erie trackage and Gang Mills Yard, where my Norfolk Southern HO6 is going to originate, so there's no location justification for this thing either. It's just something that, I've enjoyed seeing a lot of pictures of, and wanted to have on the layout. So when the opportunity arose, I decided it was coming home with me. So this thing is a Broadway Limited, again with Paragon 2 sound. The speakers in it are actually blown, which is why I was able to get it, for relatively cheap. So this thing eventually is actually going to get an ESU lock sound decoder and a pair or at least one scale sound system speaker. So we'll get this thing, rocking as far as sound is concerned as well. But that's it for new locomotive acquisitions for this month. I anticipate probably I'll have a couple more next month with the next run of B23-7s, finally getting hopefully 2 dealers from Atlas. This upcoming month. They've been stateside actually for about a month now. I don't know what's going on the Atlas side of things that they haven't got to dealers yet, but that's it for Locomotive acquisitions for this month. Again, keep an eye on next month. There should be a couple more. With that said, though, we do have one freight car acquisition and then the finished locomotive projects as well. All right, so here's just a quick look at the one lone rolling stock acquisition we've had over the last month and a half. This is an Intermountain Southern Pacific Hydro Cushion Scheme boxcar. I actually ended up seeing one of these on the Watkins Glen turn job for the Finger Lakes HW2 a couple of months ago, and decided I wanted to pick up one of these cars to try to recreate the one that I got roster shots of that day. That particular boxcar was still in original SP markings, so this should be a fun one to try to recreate. That's it as far as new acquisitions, and now we'll just real quickly get into the finished locomotive projects. Alright, so here's a quick look at the finished locomotive projects that took up, honestly, the bulk of my time throughout the last month and a half. As you saw in the last layout update, these were new acquisitions at that point. These are the two Scale Trains Operator Series SD45s that I picked up from the newest run from Scale Trains. There's a video on my channel now kind of showing these off, showing them running, showing the startup, showing how they sound, showing off the light functions, all of that stuff. So they look and sound pretty good. I put a ton of work into them. Like I said, the lead unit here, 3124, had a headlight relocation, both got ditch lights, both got separately applied grab irons, pilot detail, both got ESU Locksound version 5 decoders and scale sound system speakers, and then the lead unit also got a custom horn sound file from my buddy Josh Crane, so really appreciate him putting that together for me as well. With that out of the way, we are through all of our layout update for this month. I hope you enjoyed watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you're notified when I upload, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.